Next session on Securing the Future, a journey through ISO standards and beyond by Mr. Manoj Kulkarni, ICT Head, Business Assurance, Indian Subcontinent, DNV. Can we have a big round of applause for the speaker, please? 30 plus years of hands-on experience in quality management, information security, IT service management, and business continuity. He has worked extensively in auditing, assessing, and consulting various sectors as IT and ITES, ICT, FNB, BFSI, electronics, consumer durables, automotive, and many other. He has provided strategic advice and guidance to senior management of some of the top organizations throughout consulting and auditing engagements. Over to you, sir.
Okay, good afternoon. Lot of technical stuff since morning, right? So you must be boggled with a lot of technical stuff. I'm not going to talk much on the technical aspects, but more of, the bigger picture of the information security and what best practices are available to countermeasure this threat landscape. But first, let's start with some statistics as everybody has started. This is about India. It's not about a global picture. So what I mean to say here is the data which is available on the public media. So 2023 saw record high incidents, 79 million. Those were officially recorded in database of CERT-In. And it also says that it has been increased 278% from 21 to 2023. Government websites are also not pardoned. So 36 official attacks are recorded on government websites in India. Going ahead in 2024 Q1, India has blocked 500 million possible attacks. And it says that by 2023 end, you might have a potential to have 1 trillion attacks. So this is a very scary picture what we see with respect to attacks. Some examples, again, these are examples of India. I'm not naming the companies, you might all know very well. A cryptocurrency exchange, I will not name it, but you know that $230 million were stolen by this attack. A major data breach in a telecom PSU. Of course, 278 gigabyte of data is stolen. A consumer wearable organization, 7.5 million users' data has been leaked. Automotive, by using a WhatsApp link, vulnerabilities of WhatsApp link, this major automotive company has faced a breach. A top broadband company, almost 41.5 million customer data has been leaked. So these are the known examples of 2024, and I'm not naming the organizations, but you are really well. What I want to also emphasize here is the attacks are not targeted to any specific industry sector. They are happening across all over, all type of industries. Now looking at current, one more example about multiple cyber attacks on Indian government. So mostly on the Department of Defense, we saw many attacks happening. Even aerospace sector, we saw a lot of attacks happening. Those might be state actors who are doing those types of attacks. If you look at the bigger picture with respect to threat landscape, this is again an ENISA report. ENISA is a European organization who works very extensively with overall attackers. What are the top 10 attackers that will pose the attacks by 2030? First number is given to supply chain, and we discussed on this. Supply chain compromise is the biggest threat. Then advanced disinformation campaigns. Third one, rise of digital surveillance, which is related to privacy, because we never know who is watching us and our privacy is getting compromised. We had a detailed session by people on this. Fourth one, human error and exploited legacy systems with cyber physical ecosystem. Fifth one, smart device, attacks on smart devices, IoT devices. Sixth one, lack of analysis and control. The organizations who are facing that events, they are not analyzing it properly, which becomes a threat. Rise of advanced hybrid threats, combined threats of multiple nature. Skill shortage, we had a discussion on how we can improve upon the skills in India. So skill shortage is one of the area. In cybersecurity especially, we don't have people with adequate skills. Cross-border ICT service providers, so our data going to outside countries is another bigger threat. This is from the European perspective, it is more relevant. And also AI abuse. So these are the top 10 threats that will rule this cybersecurity attack world by 2030. Coming back to next year, 2025, what are the most happening attacks, or what attacks might happen? Again, this year we saw there is a potential to have more supply chain attacks. I think the data says that by 2025, 45% of attacks will be on the supply chain. Then next important thing, because of AI is being used very extensively now, using AI in attacks is quite happening very, very rapidly. They are more accurate and more targeted, as we saw in previous presentations as well. Ransomware, again, it's going to be more targeted, more accurate, and as somebody said, it is basically now targeting on the SME sector rather than the bigger organizations. Next one, insider threat. We just had a session. We saw the employees as well as the subcontractors or contractors, how they can intentionally or unintentionally contribute to this insider threat attack. Quantum threats, I think nobody spoke about this. Because of this evolution in quantum computers and quantum processing, our current encryption may not be enough to protect our data. So these quantum computers can easily break our current encryption system. So that's a 2025, we can think of this attack. Social media exploitation, again, using deepfake of audio, deepfake of video, using your data on social media and targeting you personally. I think a lot of examples were discussed on this. And lastly, non-human threats, non-human entities. So we have a lot of now bots, a lot of automations being done where there is no man sitting behind any tool. And such tools can be compromised very easily if they have vulnerabilities. So this is the landscape what we saw, what we see in 2025 most likely to happen, where the attacks will happen more and more. So what we should do? I think you all know about ISO standards, but then I will talk about not only ISO, but there are some other frameworks which are similar to ISO, which can also help. These are the best practices which are discovered and followed and agreed by world. So if you know ISO standards, they are, somebody said it, they are far behind, but then they are more generic. Mostly what happens is, all ISO standard takes long time to being published or accepted. So there are multiple revisions has to happen between committees, and at the end, there is a voting process in which finally the standard gets voted by member countries. Those are 180 plus countries who are participating in this forum. And finally, the standard gets published. But these are the best practices available, and then we should not rediscover the same thing again and again. Just follow the best practice which is available. So to name a few, you are all aware 27001 ISMS, but there is a recent revision 2022 version where you have additional 11 controls which are quite relevant to current attack surface that we discussed. In line with 27001, there is one more standard, 27701, which is an extension of 27001, which specifically addresses the privacy aspects. So it's called as PIMS. If you comply to this standard, there is a possibility that you might comply all the laws of the world in the privacy area. So you don't have to go and comply to each and every law. Just follow ISO 27701. You might 99% comply with all the requirements of all the laws in the world. Then you have cloud-specific guidance documents on top of 27001, 27017 and 27018. 17 talks about how do we secure cloud, and 27018 talks about how do you protect PII within cloud, the personal information that you can store on the cloud. So these two guidelines are on top of 27001. Then you have a quality management standard specifically required in the UK geography, that is TIT+. It's a quality management standard. Similarly, on the telecom domain, you have TL 9000, which is again a quality management standard for the communication industry. 20001, which is 20000-1, is a service management standard based on ITIL. I'm just showcasing the only relevant standards. If you go to ISO site, there are thousands of standards, but which are more relevant to our type of work, I'm just putting that here. 22301, again, business continuity management standard. Mostly after COVID, everybody has quite matured in continuing their business in a disruption scenario, but this standard gives you a lot of best practices, and it will also help you to optimize your expenses with respect to business continuity, if you understand it correctly. GDPR, they said in Article 37 of GDPR that European Union will come up with some certification scheme. They also adopt 27701, but Euro Privacy is the scheme where it's called as an official certification of GDPR. That's also available. 31000 umbrella governance, risk governance standard, which is quite helpful if you are running a ERM project. 31000 is the best practice, I would say. And then most of the ISO standards are following ISO 31000 as the standard for risk management. For the automotive sector, there is one more new requirement. This is not an ISO. This is a ENX requirement called TSAX. And if you are a supplier or a manufacturer in automotive industry, now it's a mandate that you need to comply to the TSAX requirements. It is quite similar to ISO 27001, but specific controls are added with respect to automotive industry. 9001, basic hygiene with respect to quality. That's already been popular since ages. The latest addition to this portfolio is ISO 42001, which talks about artificial intelligence management system. Many people we discussed on artificial intelligence. This standard gives you best practice on how do we use AI in a more ethical and more trustable way. And if you get certified against this, the certification scheme is being announced. DNV might be the first body who can certify against ISO 42001. CSA Star, again another certificate, not ISO certificate, which is certification, which is from the Cloud Security Alliance, which is on top of 27001. They have given additional controls with respect to cloud services and the Star registry, where you can go and register your name, your organized name, and that gives you assurance to your customers that whatever cloud solution you are selling or using is trustworthy. SOC, again, this is Service Organization Control, which is again similar to ISO 27001, but it runs with AICPA's trust principles. And this is another framework which AICPA, the US CPA organization, has come up with. HIPAA, again, a regulation with respect to health data, and you can have certification against or assessment against these best practices as well. So these are the best practices are already available, and if you follow basic common sense and basic principles, most of the threats that we saw earlier can be arrested. No ISO standard will give you a guarantee that attack will not happen on you, because as you said, it's a cat, mice or chore police game. So always there is a possibility. But what ISO assures you is that if you follow the correct process, at least the same attack may not be repeated to you. And also sharing of information happens across organizations, across departments, so that the similar vulnerabilities or similar problems will get arrested. So it's better to have this framework in place so that we are saved from potential or actual attacks. So how these ISO standards are helping you? First, it will improve your requirements of data protection with respect to confidential as well as personal information. Second, it assists you to establishing policies and procedures. Again, whenever you say ISO, it always talk about some or the other documentation, but somebody said that having policies in place is always better. So this standard will mandate you to have those policies and procedures in place. It will help you to protect your information access, confidentiality, integrity, and availability aspects, CIA tried, because they have prescribed more than prescribed 111 controls. Clarity in the roles, because of the structure of the standard, it will mandate you to define your organizational structure, define the roles and responsibilities. These are very common sense management things which are not technical, but they are also important. Without this, you cannot run your technical controls as well. It helps you to build trust within your customers, within your employees, and within your subcontractors that their information with you is safe. Can you check why it is? It's not changing. Oh. Go back. Yeah, let it be on the last slide. Go back. Yeah, hold on. Oh. Okay. Okay, fine. It will support you to comply with various regulations because like GDPR, HIPAA, all other regulations require some controls which are already part of these best practice documents. It will facilitate you to write agreements. These aspects are not covered in any technical aspects. How do you write an agreement with respect to your suppliers? How do you manage risk with your suppliers? And finally, it ends in enhancing the customer satisfaction. So these are few of the benefits. There are many. I will also talk about some new standards which are coming up, which are not yet published or they are on the verge of publishing. NIST frameworks, National Institute of Standards and Technology, US, they always have revisions in their SP series of documents. So it's interesting to look at those latest documents with respect to the cybersecurity framework. Then also you have to look at ENISA initiatives. NIS2 is the recent initiative what we saw in Europe. So NIS2 registration is mandatory from 1st January 2025 for all organizations who are working in Europe. With respect to back to data center, means exit cloud strategy. Now we see a lot of things are happening with respect to data centers. People are moving away from cloud and putting up their own data centers again. So these are the two standards which are upcoming, 22237 and 5600, which are specifically addressing the data center security requirements. Connected vehicles, again ENX standard, all the connected cars, and there are incidents, even with Tesla there were incidents, how you can hack a car and do some attacks which will definitely not good with respect to connected vehicles. So there is a standard available, vehicle cyber security. We also have the new privacy regulations coming up, DPDP, ENS. It's interesting to see those documents as well. Travel is again started after COVID, so travel risk management is another standard. For BFSR domain, SWIFT assessments are also there, they are upcoming. And with respect to energy and utility industry, 27019 is another standard which is coming up with respect to how do we protect energy infrastructure in the country. I represent DNV, and I know many of you might be aware, but 2 minutes for just introducing DNV. So what we can do, what we are helping you with is the certification activity. So we are not implementers, we are only checkers. We avoid conflict of interest with implementers. So we are the independent, unbiased checkers. So we do management system certifications, we do trainings, the LA courses, LI courses, gap assessments, maturity assessments for cybersecurity, and also assessments against local regulations. I just want to highlight one part here. DNV is a 160-year-old company founded in Norway with a vision and mission. Our purpose, our mission is to safeguard life, property, and environment. Basically, this is, I would say, non-profit kind of a mission where we try to help society at large by providing our services, as well as 5% of our revenue goes into various research projects which can help society at large. And at the same time, we have the vision to tackle the, to become a trusted voice to tackle the global transformations. I will not take much time. I will just leave you with this slide. We are a global company with 15,000 experts, 100,000 plus customers, present across 100 plus countries, and operating through these 4 units. That's it. Thank you very much. If you need any information, please visit our booth here. Thank you.
For the beautiful insights, I would like to call upon stage Mr. Stephen George, VP Enterprise Infrastructure, HSBC, to do the honors.